What can theater be to a world of growing crises?
I'm reimagining everything I thought to be true about the theater.
I'm re-entering this moment, envisioning the future of the American theater by centralizing EDI and anti-racism in every conversation.
I think anytime during a crisis, you have to navigate the reality of the moment in an open and an honest way.
How can we make theater that has the most impact on our communities in which we exist, and perhaps the least impact on the earth?
Right now, theaters have no choice but to be innovative and rebuild long-standing structures from the ground up. So why not also take this moment to recalibrate ourselves towards a more just industry?
We're going to be in an uncertain place where our industry is, in some ways, struggling to survive.
Hey, Jasmine.
Oh, hey. What's going on? How are you?
Hey, friend. So,
Hi, everyone. My name is...
Hi, Tahnia.
Hi, Peter.
I'm really happy to see you because it's been so long, actually. How do leaders need to be leading when theaters start to reopen?
Yeah. I think that's the question, the big question. When we talk about reopening, the biggest thing that comes to mind for me is talking about open-mindedness. I think we got to dig deeper. I think we got to, approach the work and leading this field with vigor, with, passion, and with intention, going about it in a way that, we are moving in this direction towards, equity across the board.
It's not hard, actually. It's just like stuff like you said that we have not traditionally, historically talked about openly. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm still trying to work with folks who are hesitant to talk to me about why they're making certain decisions about their budget and how that's affecting decisions that are being made. And I'm over it, I'm like, let's talk about the budget. Let's just do it because it's so important. It's where everything starts. It's what shapes the experience for everyone involved. We have to be able to be transparent about why decisions are being made.
Transparency is power. And I don't think that a lot of leaders really truly understand that. I need leaders, on the topic of transparency, not to take things personal.
Yeah.
This isn't about you. This is about us. This is about how we're moving forward. And I, as a person of color in the space, I look to my white leaders and I'm like, don't take it personal. Like, we're trying to have this conversation amongst everyone in the field and come together and work collaboratively and make change.
As we think about leadership, it's really important to me to break down the idea that leadership is hierarchical and thinking that the only people worth being called leaders and the only people worth listening to have executive in their title or manager or director. But no, the interns, the assistants are also leaders in their own right. And I think listening is so important, and being able to embrace feedback and being loud and vocal and standing by your morals is so key to being a leader, especially in these incredibly difficult times.
I also think that, particularly for leaders of color, we have been, whether or not we're conscious of it, told to keep our opinions to ourselves, right?
Yeah.
To fit those opinions and ideas into a model which is still stuck in a hierarchical system where race disparity creates a sense of whether or not it's truly out in the open, but there's a conflict. I have felt it in my own work. And I think what I've learned more is to be able to sort of speak with passion and confidence and a sense that you are speaking from a truthful place, but also a place that is trying to unlock the best positive outcome from something else.
I really, really hope that a lot of the boldness and energy and unapologeticness that people have found during this past year does not go away once we are back in offices together, back in rehearsal spaces together. I hope that ferocity continues, because I think there's so much power in that. And I don't even think that we understand the amount of potential that comes if we all continue to stay on it.
I really want the lessons from last year to have a lasting impact. So, paying attention to the needs of our team members, making decisions with those who are impacted by those decisions being in the room with us, looking at mental health and partnering with health practitioners for their insights and their resources, and that an intentional pause to reflect and regroup is actually helpful.
I want to see actionable changes in programming, in staffing, in leadership, in resources. I think we've all have been on so many panels and talks and everything about the state of affairs in the industry that now I really want to see actionable differences and changes. Again, like you said, lasting, not tokenized.
I think for me, what it means to be a leader right now in the theater means that there's going to be a lot of tossing pasta at the fridge and seeing if it sticks. And I think we have to embrace that. Something that I've been saying to a lot of colleagues and friends when they ask about my interest in theater leadership is I say, well, I also don't think the job that I will have exists right now.
I think that a lot of our theater leaders as practitioners, we're experts in theater, but we're not necessarily experts in coalition building. How do we lead movements? How do we partake in movements? How do we build coalition with one another towards a common goal, right? Knowing that within an ecosystem, everyone has a different role, but that we can ebb and flow together towards it.
I think there's something really special about building an ensemble. Part of the reason why I got into theater actually was because of an injury. I used to be an athlete, and theater felt like the immediacy of team, just like a sports team would function. So I think I'm coming from an already expanded understanding of ensemble, but coalition adds a different kind of nuance. Coalition means the work that we do in this room together, and to bring in as many people, places, and things as possible. And how to just keep doing that, and how to establish that abundance above all else. Because as you know, we exist in an industry of such scarcity.
So as the theater looks towards reopening, hopefully this fall, I'd love to just hear what hopes and dreams do you have for what the theater will be like when we return?
What I hope for as we reopen is that we're not immediately ticking off a box of what we think change needs to be, because to me the change is a reinstating and reconnecting with our value systems. The adage, well, we've always done it that way, is probably going to be a full stop. Like, let's not use that as our starting point for any conversation.
My big answer is that I really hope that our art form can get back on track to being one that celebrates all of our differences, our unique stories, our histories, our futures, and our dreams. And I hope that as we come back, we can do the deep reflection and the deep meaningful change of being able to tell the stories and center and uplift, Black people, trans people, Indigenous people, people of color, women, non-binary folks, poor people, disabled folks, just welcome everyone.
I think it's important for us to acknowledge that pre-pandemic, the normal meant that a lot of our artists were vulnerable, our smaller organizations were vulnerable, our organizations of color were vulnerable. So in this past year where we have really seen anti-racist work come to the forefront, what does an anti-racist world look like?
Yeah, I'm thinking, you know, as a producer, I'm thinking about like, what do audiences want to see, or what are they willing to experience? And because even for myself, I wonder, like, what do I want to see? You know, what do I want to experience? And I think, you know, what's kind of exciting is like what the work will be that will come, that we'll be seeing soon. I'm feeling like, I think as a theater goer, what I'm hoping for, I'm just craving to be in the space with a bunch of strangers.
I feel like there's this perception, and there's this perception that's even held sometimes by some artists, where it's like, we do this thing over here, and like sometimes it speaks to the world, but that's what it is. It's like this back and forth conversation at a distance. And I feel like I want it to be like this.
You know, theater is supposed to be a reflection of our lives. We're missing the mark a little bit. I know for me, you know, even when I think about, you know, television and movies that I've watched recently, I'm at a point where I'm just so tired of seeing the same story with the same people. And what I look forward to when the theaters reopen is seeing stories that I'd never seen before.
It feels like all of the things that we all kind of want for the world in terms of how we want it to change or be better are like rooted in our ability to actually to imagine and create that and like manifest it.
I want to personally imagine a field that replaces guilt with curiosity. And I want to imagine a future in which people want to act accountable for the harm that they cause, that they want to lean into that accountability, right? That there is work to be done there in terms of leaning in and saying that the common goal here is community accountability, community care, and community transformation.
I really hope that we as theater artists aren't afraid to take our talents and our obsession with viscerality and ephemerality and liveness and see how that can exist in the digital age. It's accessibility in terms of, yes, more people can see the work. That always had to happen, and that needs to continue as we look to also reopening our spaces. My challenge for people in positions with programming power and artistic directors and artistic leaders is, how are you going to include both digital programming and live programming into your seasons from here on out? How are you going to not just, you know, say, well, let's just record it and put it on the TV? How are you going to adapt? And when I say adapt, I really mean adaptation. How are you going to look at these multiple forms and include them?
I'm excited. I'm excited about what's going to be on the stage when we return.
I'm also craving just to hug people like yourself. We have yet to meet in person.
Yeah,
you know, I'll ask for consent first, but I'm definitely
I appreciate
a hug is coming your way.
I will gladly accept.